You didn't quit. You're really like against all odds. You're doing something that no one in the family's done, that none of your friends have done.
I'm just gonna say the thing you're not supposed to say.
Whatever is mine is looking for me.
You have to know what road to take to get to your final destination.
Everything that you ever wanted is on the other side of fear.
You just said that you have bigger charges of smashing somebody's window out.
Hold on.
This is all you do is lie to get
I can just show you guys the court papers. That's a receipt.
It's sad.
It's not
I don't
about
need
a
a following because I have a real life and I have people who actually love me.
Welcome back to Between Two Worlds with Yoni. Here we dive into shadow stories, the mirrors of our hidden fears and beliefs. By facing them, we learn we can rewrite the story and choose a new ending for ourselves. Some stories don't end when the internet thinks they do. They pause, they circle back, and they reveal more than we were ready to see. If you've been with me for a while, then you remember Briana Williams, the young woman who went viral after showing the world the black eye her boyfriend gave her. Back then, her video shook people because it wasn't just a bruise, it was a breaking point, a moment where her voice finally rose above the pain she's been carrying in silence. And when we talk about her story on this channel the first time, it felt like that was supposed to be the turning point, the moment she chose herself, the moment everything shifted. But life doesn't always move in straight lines. Trauma doesn't always let go when it should. And sometimes the shadow you think you walked away from is the same one waiting for you on the next corner. Because now the same man she exposed for abusing her, the same relationship the world watched crumble, she was seen right back beside him. And that's the part nobody talks about. The part that makes healing look messy. The part that makes just leave sound shallow. The part that shows how easy it is to judge someone else's darkness when you're still most likely struggling with your own. So today, we're not just revisiting her story. We're looking at where she was then, where she is now, and the shadows in between. The childhood wounds she never escaped, the emotional loops that keep choosing her, and the lesson tucked inside a cycle that keeps replaying itself louder, harder, and more publicly each time. This isn't about blame. This isn't about gossip. This is about the quiet truth behind the choices we make. When the pain feels familiar and the chaos feels like home. Let's take a deep dive between two worlds.
Your entire life can change in the blink of an eye. 1 minute, I am creating content with someone who I thought I could spend my life with, and the next minute, I'm cleaning up the destruction that their hands left. I finally came back to my apartment, and my goals this week are to be kind to myself and to stay out of bed. I'm spending time with my son, and I went and bought myself flowers. But in all of this, I realized that healing is not linear, that everything happens for us, not to us. There has to be something at the end of this tunnel, and I'm just waiting to see that light. But until then, being awake is enough. Being here is enough, and I'm thankful for that.
The truth is, people don't just wake up one day and fall into a cycle like this. You don't just end up back beside the person who hurt you without a long road behind you that taught you pain before it ever taught you safety. There's always a beginning, a first wound, a first betrayal, a first moment when the world showed you that love doesn't always come wrapped in gentleness. And let me be clear, compassion does not erase accountability. We can understand how someone got here without excusing the harm they've caused to themselves or anyone around them. Both truths can exist at the same time. So before we judge where Briana is now, we have to look at how she got here, because these patterns didn't start with Rowan or the man before him or the black eye that went viral. They started long before adulthood, before relationships, before the internet ever knew her name. They started in a house that looked fine from the outside, but didn't teach her the foundation she needed on the inside. A home where people showed up physically, but didn't always show up emotionally. A place that gave her moments of joy, but no real sense of stability. And that's where her story really begins, with the childhood that shaped her, the family dynamics that cracked her self-worth, and the lessons she never got the chance to learn before life pushed her into the spotlight.
One thing that I have had to teach myself that's really important in my life is to stop trying to prove myself. Why do I always try to prove myself to everyone around me? I try to prove my value and my self-worth and how much I can bring to the table. I realize that I'm always doing that because I have not accepted deep down on a subconscious level that I deserve love just for existing. I deserve attention. I deserve encouragement. I deserve friendships. I deserve good relationships. I don't have to earn these things. I don't have to earn them from people, from men, from friendships, whatever. From parents. I don't have to earn these things. I deserve these things. And I'm not going to let another woman go through her life feeling like I did, whereas I feel like I had to prove myself just to get my basic needs met, because that, unfortunately, is how women end up in domestic violence situations. When speaking on my situation, I did let you all know that the lack of support is one of the reasons I feel like I ended up there. And again, that just goes back to not believing that you are worthy of love just for existing.
Briana's story doesn't start with a relationship, it starts with a feeling, one she's been open about since the beginning, that she never truly felt supported by her family. Not the kind of support that makes you feel grounded, held, or understood, but the kind that makes you feel like you belong somewhere. She didn't grow up with that. Her home might have had its good moments, birthdays, laughter, little flashes of joy that made things look fine from the outside, but inside the walls, the emotional foundation wasn't steady. Briana grew up in a family where everyone felt like they were in their own corner, fighting their own battles, showing up physically but not always emotionally. Arguments didn't get resolved, feelings didn't get acknowledged, and the support she needed never came consistently. Even as a child, it seemed like she had to earn validation, earn attention, earn comfort, as if emotional support was something you had to qualify for, not something you deserved simply by being a child. And when you spend your childhood feeling like love is conditional, you grow into an adult who mistakes instability for normacy. You gravitate towards people who mirror the patterns you grew up around: conflict, inconsistency, emotional distance, because that's what your nervous system learned early. You don't crave safety, you crave familiarity. And whatever feels familiar starts to feel like home, even when it hurts you.
Did she experience violence in the home as a child?
I'm not going to talk on that because I have a wonderful relationship with my ex-partner. I have a wonderful relationship. We have a great family together, even though we're no longer together. We have a wonderful best friend type relationship. Everything in the past is the past. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you that they have experienced things that maybe they've carried on to certain generations. But we have worked on that. We've gone to counseling. Me and my ex-husband, we went to counseling for 2 years before we divorced. And any of the kids I felt was affected, guess what? I got a counselor for them too. My daughter is with her boyfriend. I went and got them a counselor. I believe in therapy. Even when Briana, she went and got help. I believe in medication. Yes, 100%. I understand that some of the things that she's going through is because of the mental situation. And that's why I support it. I support her. I'm not blaming, oh, you deserve to be beat up because you're mental. That's nothing to do with it. We're supporting and saying, hey, we want you to get the help you need. We love you. And maybe getting the help you need will stop you from these patterns and things that are going on. Because it's not just the boyfriends. It's when you get upset with somebody, including your exes, everybody, and you lash out and seek revenge. That's the painful part that we experience.
This is where her story really begins, with a young girl who never felt fully chosen, never felt poured into, never felt like she had a stable emotional foundation. A girl who grew up learning to take care of herself, but never learned how to be cared for. A girl who learned to survive, but never learned what it felt like to feel safe. And when you grow up without that kind of support, you spend your adult life searching for the love you never received, often in people who cannot give it, often in situations that repeat the very wounds you're trying to escape. Her childhood didn't just shape her, it set the tone for every connection that came after. It planted the shadows she would spend years unconsciously repeating right up until her life spilled into the public eye.
We love our kids. We do not support domestic violence. We have had that in our generation. And so we're trying to break that cycle. We're doing counseling. We're doing therapy. Briana is doing counseling and therapy. We're trying to work through these issues, but let's stop bringing the people who are doing the violence repeatedly back in our lives. And it wasn't just that this guy just broke in at the last minute to this hotel. You know, afterwards she got back home. They spent time together, okay? Mm-hmm. It happened before she left. It happened after. You know what I'm saying? So we spent time together and calls together and romantic stuff together. So it wasn't just a one, you know, and I'm just saying, and I'm not trying to make anybody look bad, but it wasn't just you know, and I don't care to defend this man. I'm just saying the way it's looking like he just broke in and started beating it. It didn't happen like that.
When you grow up never feeling truly supported, you don't just carry that into adulthood. You end up choosing people who echo the same wounds you were raised around. For Briana, every relationship has been a mirror, not one of who she wants to be, but the parts of her that never healed. She didn't fall for partners because they were good for her. She fell into dynamics that match the emotional rhythm she was taught as a child. The inconsistency, the arguing, the emotional distance, the feeling that love is something you must prove yourself worthy of. And then there were the reflections she saw in her mother and sisters, women who battled their own storms, women who were never poured into the way they needed, women who showed her directly or indirectly that love often comes with struggle, silence, or sacrifice. So as she grew older, her relationships became continuations of the emotional lessons she learned at home. She wasn't choosing bad men, she was choosing the blueprint she was handed. Because if you grow up believing instability is normal, you mistaken intensity for connection and chaos for chemistry. That's why returning to the same man she once cried about publicly wasn't shocking. Her heart wants softness, but her wounds still recognize what hurts. Until she rebuilds her sense of worth and safety from the inside out, she'll keep walking into the same story with different faces, but the same ending.
My daughters are tired. They sat there at Brianna's house for weeks watching every day, all day, fighting and biting and hitting and kicking. And from what they say, it wasn't him doing it. And I just don't want that stuff being done with these kids around. I want to protect that. I want to show that we are on her team. We love her. I told Brianna after, how are you doing? How are you doing? You are purposely allowing me to be talked about as if I'm not on your team. And you know, all this time I said, get rid of this dude. I have been talking about getting rid of this dude forever, and the dude before him and the dude before him. They're all trash and garbage from what I've seen. Now, Marlon, he's a good dad. But they're all garbage. And Brianna, come on, man. You know how some people just have a picker. You know, they have a picker. It's not going to be the best people they pick. But when they disrespect your family constantly, they talk crazy to you in front of your family. They talk crazy to your mom, your dad, your sisters and brothers. At some point, you don't even say nothing. So we say something, and then guess what happens? When we say something, get out of our lives. Y'all are against us. So I've learned as a mother, I used to go off on these niggas. You're this, you're that. Get out of my daughter's life. I'm fighting, I'm punching people. Y'all, you guys don't even know who I am. But then guess what happens? Every single time I have 4 daughters, guess what happens? Mom, get out of our lives. You don't let us live our lives. And then I don't talk to my daughters for 6 months. Or they don't talk to me, rather. So now I've decided, you know what? I'm going to let them live their life and do what they want to do, because when I try to get involved, they get upset. They turn on me. So, okay, now do what you do. But I'm going to give you advice as a mother. I'm going to tell you, this dude is going to get my piece of my mind. I'm going to tell my sons they're going to give him a piece of their mind. But at the end of the day, if you keep bringing him back around, and we're telling you stop bringing him around, and then, oh, well, I ain't coming if he can't come. Okay, well, what are we supposed to do? We supposed to fight him and then lose you too, and then lose the grandkids and not see them?
Mm-hmm.
So I sit back and I say, you know what? Okay, girls, I got 4 daughters. Okay, you know, pick your men if that's what you do. But you know what we go through. You know what my mother went through. You know what I went through. You saw it. So if you want to pick dudes like that, know the results. I'm going to be there for you to dry your tears.
By the time Rowan came into her life, Brianna wasn't confused about her patterns. She wasn't blindsided. She wasn't in the dark. She knew exactly what she was walking into. That's the hardest part about her story. She's aware. She knows the generational patterns she's repeating. She knows the type of energy she attracts. She knows the danger, and she knows the cost. Yet she chooses it anyway. Not because she wants pain, but because she hasn't learned how to exist outside of it. Some people run from chaos. Briana has spent her life adapting to it. It's what she was raised in. It's what she witnessed and absorbed long before she could name it. But awareness alone doesn't break a cycle. Choosing differently does. And that's where the accountability comes in. Briana isn't a child anymore. She's not blindly repeating what she saw. She's consciously participating in a pattern she openly acknowledges, while raising a daughter who is silently watching her every move. And that's what makes this chapter with Rowan hit differently. She knew better. She saw the warning signs. She recognized the generational echo and still stepped into the same cycle. The volatility between them wasn't surprising to her. She felt the shift. She sensed the danger. She even spoke publicly about the abuse before. But the pull was stronger than the lesson. The chaos was louder than her intuition, and the pattern felt more familiar than choosing something healthier. So when things exploded publicly between them, it wasn't fate punishing her. It was the universe forcing a moment of honesty she refused to create for herself. The time the cycle didn't stay behind closed doors. It didn't stay in the dark. It didn't stay silent. It became public because she wouldn't walk away privately. And that's the accountability too. It's not that she didn't know, it's that she didn't choose differently. And the choices has consequences for her growth, and for the daughter watching how she defines love. Rowan didn't expose anything she wasn't already aware of. What he exposed was the reality that awareness means nothing if your choices don't change with it. Sometimes the most painful relationships aren't the ones we don't understand. They're the ones we understand completely but stay in anyway.
Dude, the whole time we in Europe, y'all want to talk, y'all want to FaceTime, y'all want to, I miss you, I love you, y'all want to do that? Okay. But I know.
That was after he whooped her in, I say whooped her. They had an altercation before the Europe trip, and then she was on the phone with him.
Yes.
Throughout the whole trip.
Yes. There was a beginning before the trip, fight, after the trip, fight, hanging out in the between, all the stuff. So it wasn't just as it was put out there, but it is wrong that he hit her. It is wrong when she hits him. It's wrong all the way around because the kids they're learning from all of us.
By the time everything spilled onto the internet, Briana wasn't just battling a relationship, she was battling herself. Her choices were no longer just emotional. They had started shaping her real life, her stability, her role as a mother. And this is where her story turns from messy into something painfully real, because losing access to your children, even partially, isn't a small consequence. It forces a different kind of reflection, the kind that no longer lets you hide behind survival mode, excuses, or old wounds.
Can I go through your archives? I can't go through your archives.
Number one. Number two, you said they're saying you lost full custody of your kids. I can go get the paperwork right now and show I have joint custody.
You lost 100% custody of your kids. You just said that you have bigger charges of smashing somebody's window out.
Hold on.
This is all you do is lie to get like people to follow you on social media. It's sad.
It's not
I don't need a following because I have a real life and I have people who actually love me in real life. I don't have baby daddies. I don't have stuff like that, men beating on me and me busting men's windows out of their home. Girl, you went to this man's home with a surfboard.
Oh, hold on, wait. Let's address this one by one.
And then you also
wait, you're still
not
talking.
on medication,
because
Briana.
You know the truth. You said I'm telling lies. Let me flip the motherfucking camera. Let's come up with a receipt. Here is the court. Child, date of birth, joint custody.
When is that dated?
This is for Marlon. The other one for Evelyn
is
sitting right over there in my room. So what? So now
when is that
now
dated?
You have joint custody of my.
You had joint custody first.
Clock it receipt. Clock it a receipt.
What is the date?
Clock it a receipt.
What is the date?
Okay, hold on. Let me give you the date. Hold on. Let me give you the date. Hold on. Let me give you the date. Let me give you the date. Hold on. Let me give you the date. Let me give you the date. Let me give you the date. May 9th, 2025. May 9th, 2025.
Briana,
May 9th, 2025. So who doesn't have custody of their kids? May 9th, 2025. Joint custody. So Briana, now what do you have to say about that?
Okay, let's go on to you saying you've never been on medication.
No, go back. What do you have to say about that?
It's none of my business.
There you go. It's none of your motherfucking business.
Why do you lie?
In the first place.
Why do you lie?
What
you say you've never been on medication for a mental illness. Why you say that? You have.
What mental illness do I take medication for?
You tell us, because you the one that posted on your stories at CVS picking up my depression medicine. What? I don't know the name
of
it.
Depression medicine. Yes, you just said it.
That's a mental illness.
Is postpartum depression a mental illness?
Girl, that was not postpartum depression. Your kids were like the same age they were. This was just last year.
That was 2 years ago.
Explain the video of you busting Marlon's video. Explain the video of you busting Marlon's home windows out of his home.
If you would have joined last night, you would have heard it.
But you just said he was the most gentle person ever. So why?
Yes, I busted Marlon's windows, and I did a plethora of more. But that doesn't take away from.
You just said he was the most gentle person.
He is.
But why you bust his windows out?
So we got his windows busted out.
Why?
Because I wanted to.
Because you didn't. Because he don't want to be with you. Because he knows that you are literally crazy. I think it's fair for you to tell the truth on your stories instead of lying to people just for people to follow you. You need to tell the truth.
You literally just got embarrassed. You just
tell the real truth tell the real truth while your mom and sisters don't mess with you. Tell the real fucking truth.
I was just in Mykonos with my mother. I was literally just in Europe.
I don't write blogs.
I don't know why she doesn't because I was just in Europe with her. I was just in Europe with my mom.
But why she ain't talking to you now?
What would the proof be? I literally just showed you.
Why she ain't talking to you now?
Because of this.
Because of lies. Because you lie about everything, girl.
Why
your sisters don't talk to you? Because you lie.
All right, girl. All right.
Okay.
Well, everything you just said, you just got clocked up.
We're all praying for you. No, we're all praying for you. We're all praying for you.
With receipts.
I don't need to have paperwork. Like, those aren't my kids that I lost custody of. Those are yours.
Bye.
Everybody can see your charges.
Briana didn't walk into this blind. She was aware of her patterns. She was aware she was repeating the same generational cycles she watched the women before her fall into. She grew up around a family that handled pain physically, moving on, moving forward, staying busy, never handling anything emotionally. Everything was pushed aside, swept under the rug, ignored until it exploded in the next generation. So she learned early, you don't talk about the hurt, you just endure it. You don't heal the wound, you just adapt to it. You don't address the cycle, you just keep living inside of it. And that's exactly what she did. So when her relationship with Rowan spiraled, when violence and chaos blurred the lines between love and survival, she knew exactly what was happening, not because it was new, but because it was familiar. She saw herself repeating what she watched in her maternal figures, staying silent, pushing through, choosing partners who amplified the pain, and convincing herself she could handle it. But accountability matters here. So when the consequences finally hit, when custody shifted, when people judged her stability, when life forced her to face the version of herself she kept avoiding, it wasn't punishment. It was the natural outcome of repeatedly choosing what she already knew was harmful. Her emotional collapse, her public unraveling, her distance from her children, none of it came out of nowhere. It came from years of not dealing with what hurt her, years of pushing everything aside the way she was taught, years of repeating cycles she hoped she could outrun without actually facing it.
A lot of you are asking how I even got in this situation, and that is something that I've actually been trying to navigate myself. My healing journey has come with a caveat of self-reflection and also accountability, and I have sat there and thought about what would have, other than the obvious, brought me to this point. I think the obvious is a fucked up family dynamic, whereas there is a lack of support that I have felt, especially engaging with, I feel like, the feminine energies in my house, and I'll actually leave that part there. Also just poor decision making. I was also coming out of a long-term relationship, a 5-year relationship on and off with my son's dad, where the romance had completely sizzled out, and I felt like I was not being treated like a woman anymore. I felt like I was just a mom, and he didn't want to take me on dates anymore or trips anymore, and I didn't feel sexy anymore, and I was just full-time mom mode. And when I met Ronan, he brought that out of me, just transparently. I felt super sexy, super fun. I had never been out to clubs and stuff. Of course, in my earlier 20s, I'm 31 now, I started dressing different. I started really expressing myself creatively through fashion and through perception, and it made me feel very free. So I met someone who was a catalyst to my being able to
freely create and show the world my life through my lens. And I felt very safe and protected in that dynamic. I felt early on, I'll say, I felt like I could just do anything. And so I did. I blossomed, I think.
This is where her story reaches its breaking point, the moment where the world sees the fallout and she finally sees the root. Because sometimes the lowest moment isn't meant to destroy you. Sometimes it's meant to strip away the illusions, the patterns, the generational scripts you've outgrown but never confronted. This isn't the end of her story. It's the part where she has to decide whether she rises or repeats it again with even higher stakes. And with children watching, the choice carries more weight than ever. Briana's story is a reminder of what happens when you're caught between two worlds, the world you come from and the world you're trying to build. The pull between past and future, wounds and healing, chaos and clarity. That duality lives in all of us. And when those two worlds collide, the conflict isn't just external, it's internal. This shadow story isn't just about what she's facing, it's about the split inside her, the version of herself she's outgrown and the version she hasn't stepped into yet. And that's the thing about duality. One world will always win. The question is, which one are you feeding? Because at some point, every one of us has to choose. Do we keep repeating the world that broke us, or do we finally step into the one we were meant to create?
This is my opinion. I'm free to state my opinion anytime I like, right? Thank you.
I don't want you to feel like that, but yeah, feel like that.